Oh, hi. Well, friends, it's finally happened. I have fallen prey to the Squishmallow hype. I don't know how it happened. It must have been similar to the core suffix in Animal Crossing, where I was super against it. I used theme instead of core, and then I think there were a lot of viewers and other content creators who were just sharing and talking about Squishmallow. And because I live abroad, I had no idea what Squishmallow were. I just thought that they were big poofy toys, and I couldn't really understand the hype until I started browsing them. Just, ironically. I was ironically browsing. And then over time, I was unironically browsing. Within the last few weeks, if not the last few months, because, with being a parent and being so tired, so tired all the time is relative. I stumbled across, I think I just randomly Googled Rainbow Squishmallow, and I discovered this amazing plush called Sunshine. And during that time, one of my favorite content creators, or duo, I should say, Angela and Donnie, had invited me to participate in a Squishmallow build in Animal Crossing with a lot of really great content creators who, to be honest, they're all my favorite. So please be sure to check in the description of the video below with all of the links for those participating. So I fell in love with Sunshine the Rainbow Squishmallow. I don't know what it was that happens in human brains where we put so much emotion and emphasis on a literal toy, but Sunshine hit something for me, especially with her bio tag. Sunshine's bio tag reads, "At the end of a storm, there's always a rainbow, and sunshine tends to show up just when things are looking the darkest and brightens up your day with all the colors of her rainbow." Now, the rules for the collaboration were pretty open-ended with the exception of the build focusing on the bio tag. Now, the term rainbow is very significant for me because with how the Artsy Gamer started, it began not only in 2020 as many Animal Crossing content creators did with their channels, but I also experienced a series of pregnancy losses, 4 of them to be exact. And the term rainbow is so significant to those who have had pregnancy loss because a rainbow represents a living child or something that allows for healing from such traumatic events. So today I'm going to be building in-game a mizuko kuyo shrine. It is a Japanese shrine specifically for pregnancy loss. During the build, I'm going to talk about the history of the Artsy Gamer, the practice of mizuko kuyo, and just trying a different layout for videos in the future because, friends, I'm so excited for the summer. We are going to be doing so much more with this channel, and it's just great. So again, please be sure to take a look at the amazing builds that the other participants of this collaboration did, and we will get started. Okay. So welcome to the build. We're going to get started with developing the Mizuko Kuyo Shrine. I'm going to first talk about the history of the Artsy Gamer and how loss and Animal Crossing go hand in hand. Now, I know that many gaming communities do strive to avoid talking about hard topics in their streams because most streaming communities strive for some form of escapism. Animal Crossing is very unique in that regard because it came out during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. And so many people used Animal Crossing New Horizons as a way of connecting not only with their family and friends with the lockdown across the world, but also managing their own forms of grief, connecting to people overall. And Animal Crossing did that for me also because I didn't get Animal Crossing New Horizons until October 15th, 2020. I still remember the day it arrived, actually. And that was about a month or 2 months after the second pregnancy loss. It was a second trimester loss that was incredibly devastating to my husband and I. We had very much wanted this pregnancy to work out, and having discovered a severe congenital heart defect, we were just devastated. And the Artsy Gamer started as a way for me to have something that had nothing to do with therapy and, dealing with trauma and overcoming so many hurdles, especially when it comes to pregnancy and fertility and all of this stuff. And so the Artsy Gamer was my way of processing grief, and so was Animal Crossing, because you just get to sign into your island and maybe hit some rocks and talk to your villagers and connect with people you've never met before across the world. And that is such a beautiful thing. And I think that's why Animal Crossing continues to be such a cozy, connecting game for so many people. The practice of mizuko kuyo is really unique as well, because there are not very many miscarriage practices in regards to ritual and dealing with grief and all of the tumultuous and turbulent emotions that come with loss, whether it's a miscarriage, a stillbirth, or terminating for whatever reason. And it's also kind of interesting because both, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a game that was developed in Japan, and the practice of mizuko kuyo, which is Japanese for water child ceremony. It's a Buddhist Japanese practice for people to have a very substantial and tangible way of dealing with their loss. Now, I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Japanese either, but the practice of mizuko kuyo is very much beloved and utilized differently among so many people. And what's really cool about mizuko kuyo is that there are these shrines in Japan that have Jitsu, who is a Buddha, and they look like little like babies, effectively. They're like baby statues. And what people do is, I'm not one who has all of the knowledge of what a mizuko kuyo practice is, but from the outside looking in, a Jitsu statue is given to a family for them to place candy and sentiments and dress them up, and it's a way for people to process their loss in a very real and validating sort of way. And I fell in love with mizuko kuyo. It was the one thing that really allowed for me to process a loss that really had no body, to be honest. And it's so difficult to explain to people how you feel with a miscarriage, because in various parts of the world, miscarriages and stillbirths and terminations are processed differently. And when my husband and I had to process our loss away from family and friends, had to process it in a different country, I was just looking for meaning. Now, when it comes to trauma, I don't ever associate with like, oh, it happens for a reason, or you have to make meaning for something to be a validating experience. But I feel that we need to have more ways of processing grief in a validating way, especially with the height of the pandemic, and the pandemic still going pretty strong with various variants across the world. And I know that we use games and streaming and creating content to escape from that. Animal Crossing makes grief a tangible experience. I actually made, in my first island within the first few months, funnily enough, a small little shrine for the losses that I was experiencing, and I held onto that little shrine, I think, up until the reset of my first island. And what I found so fascinating is that Squishmallow and Animal Crossing go hand in hand with that. Squishmallow, I mean, when you look at them, when you look at these derpy little toys, how it releases all of these really good, happy hormones into the brain, because it's a fun thing to talk with friends over, it's a fun thing to go searching for, and you get your favorites. It's the same thing with Animal Crossing. And I used to hold out for all of the hype, but the truth is, treating yourself to things that make you happy are incredibly important, especially with trauma being such a big word that we have to process. From the fact that we lost family members, to the fact that we lost years of our lives to an experience that was collective trauma. And when it comes to pregnancy loss, I know for a fact that Animal Crossing is going to continue to be a very significant and important game for me. I mean, one of my favorite Animal Crossing villagers, Vesta, still continues to be my favorite because she was there from the beginning. And what I find so important about recreating this build is I got to reflect upon how Animal Crossing basically created the artsy gamer, and how I connected with people and how I made friends. And with the Squishmallow craze, it was so fascinating to see people just light up and be happy. And realizing that, maybe I'm being too much of a curmudgeon. Maybe I need to allow people, internally, because it's not really my job to police anybody. It's nobody's. And watching people just find joy and ways to connect with other people has been so fantastic. So I am really excited for this build. It's going to stay on for a while. My favorite part about this build was getting to see what sort of items within Animal Crossing that I could associate with the shrines themselves. And I really hope that I didn't offend anyone who was a Japanese Buddhist or a practicing Buddhist with trying to replicate with what I had. And using the Kero Kero Karopi dolls were really fun for the Jesus statue, especially because they have red in them. Red is a very significant color in dressing Jitsu statues in these shrines, and candy are often left. I did not have a windmill available to me, but windmills are often used. Anything that's really just childlike and whimsical. And in various shrines, there's usually like the main areas that are pretty well kept. And then the further you go out, the older the statues are. And what's really cool about this practice is that it's historically connected to the economic and population boom in Japan in the 70s and 80s, I believe. And, that's also around the time where Furusato was a prominent part of Animal Crossing not New Horizons, but Animal Crossing the game. And it's really fascinating to watch how this practice has moved forward and expanded to other meanings, because originally the historical version of this practice was specific for child loss, specifically for stillbirths. And so with the connections of contraceptives being made available in the 70s and 80s, and families having to make pretty hard decisions based on what they could afford and how their society was changing in Japan, it meant that the practice itself had to change to modern requirements. And that's so fascinating when it comes to grieving, because, again, the way that we grieve is so important. And in Western views, in Western mindsets, we often try to speed through grieving as fast as possible, because the way that I call it, it's wading through the ick. And it's so important to go through that process and to revisit it and to make time for anger and sadness and feelings of betrayal, because if you don't, it just sticks with you. And that is effectively what Animal Crossing New Horizons did for me. That's effectively what making friends with the Artsy Gamer did for me. Was I had a platform where I could process my grieving and also connect with people and talk about hard issues. And although we do use our platforms as forms of escapism, and I do admit that with the current political climate, it's very hard to practice forms of escapism, and mostly because I feel that's a form of privilege that some people get to avoid politics, and we honestly shouldn't. And here, being able to incorporate two whimsical experiences, Squishmallow and Animal Crossing, in a build was quite a delight. So I really hope that you continue to enjoy the build as it finishes. There was a point in time where I realized that I needed to have some flooring to really make it work, a custom design in the bottom. But when it finally came together, I finally had the missing piece to complete my island, and it's going to be amazing when it's done. So I'm going to continue letting the build go as is, and thank you so much for making it to the end. And if you've gotten this far, there's still a little bit more to go when it comes to this video, but let me know what your favorite Squishmallow is. Let me know how you've processed a major life-changing event in the form of grief and what that means for you. Hi friends, thank you so much for watching my speed build in collaboration with so many great content creators revolving Squishmallow. Now, at the time of the recording, which was coincidentally Mother's Day weekend, my first Mother's Day weekend, if you can believe it, I didn't have a Squishmallow, and now I do. So, in the very much YouTuber fashion, I'm going to unbox my first Squishmallow ever. I purchased it from Amazon because Korea doesn't have any Squishmallow for some really weird reason. I don't know why, because it would take Korea by storm, but I want to practice doing more of this sort of interaction on YouTube, and I don't think I'll be doing a lot of unboxings at any point in time because I don't know, that's just not my vibe as far as I know. But we're going to unbox and see what I got. Oh my gosh, for such a small thing, this light thing, this box is huge. Okay, and I have to be a little bit quieter because Babs is sleeping, and I want to just do this one take. Slice the thing. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can see the squish already underneath this box. Okay, okay. Oh my gosh. The mod is going to kill me. No, I'm just kidding. He knows that I purchased one to treat myself. And he did not actually show me, but... Oh my goodness. Friends, it's sunshine. Oh, wow. Oh, I think I'm starting to understand why these things are so popular and why they're called Squishmallow. They really feel like marshmallows. Okay, alright. Oh my... Oh no. Wait a minute. Whoa. Her name's Bellina? Well, that's interesting. Well, I thought I had purchased Sunshine, but I ended up getting Bellina, so clearly I'm not a true Squishmallow fan, but to be honest, I prefer this look in general. Oh my gosh. Oh, she's so cute. This hit me a little bit harder than I thought it was going to. So at the risk of crying on YouTube, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and to also support all of the fantastic content creators who participated in the Squishmallow collaboration. All of their links will be below, and let's support and continue helping the Animal Crossing content creator, zeitgeist thrive. And with that, friends, I'll see you later. Goodbye.